Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Let's see, Ms. Bridgewater, when is the SAP reset date?
November the 7th.
Very good. And as soon as courtroom 2 gets on with us, we'll get started. You doing double duty this week, Ms. Falk?
Of course, Your Honor. Mr. Walker is taking a much needed break, and so he will be back with you tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Looks like courtroom 2 is coming on now. Good afternoon, Ms. Chancey. Which case are you here for this afternoon?
Rolando Lopez, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Judge Morrow, this is
Yes.
Samantha. I also have a need for a Spanish interpreter for an additional person. Her last name is Panero.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon, courtroom 2. Whenever you all get situated and are ready.
Yes, we're ready. Good afternoon, Judge Morrow.
Good afternoon. Let's see, before you all came on, we had an announcement that positions 12 and 14 will need the services of the interpreter. So once you all have an opportunity, okay, and then just know that we'll need an interpreter for those cases.
Okay, we can actually do that now. Lopez, they're gonna go into courtroom 3.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me see. We can start with position number 6, Mr. Ford.
Yeah.
And then I do notice the Spanish interpreter is for Miss Adams, so I'll make sure I'll do Miss Adams' cases.
Very good. Good afternoon, Mr. Ford. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, you've been charged in case 23 CR 006575Y with criminal trespass. Is there a history?
This defendant is a multi-state offender with arrests out of Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. Felony conviction in 2001 for aggravated battery, 2005 aggravated assault. The last arrest was out of Fulton County on July 13th, 2023 for possession of Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance with intent. That case is still open. The case number is 23 CP 220145. It appears that they're on probation out of Douglas County and Fulton. The Fulton case number is 23 CR 002629Y. There are 9 probation violations and 1 FTA. Nothing further to report.
Thank you, Ms. Hardy. Good afternoon,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Peter Thomas.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Your Honor, the brief facts of this case is that on October 22nd, 2023, officer observed the defendant sleeping in the doorway of the incident location, that incident location being 7 60 Spring Street, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. That is the Economic Development Building on the property of Georgia Institute of Technology. The officer initiated a welfare check on the defendant. The defendant actually has a lifetime criminal trespass ban from Georgia Tech's campus that was issued on January, February, March, April 13, 2020. The recommendation from the state, Your Honor, is a $1,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a stay away from Georgia Tech to enforce that lifetime ban that he received.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pierre and Abden. Does Mr. Ford, this is your case, Ms. Abden?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does Mr. Ford have a stable place to reside?
I do know that he's residentially insecure, Your Honor, and I did offer to connect him with a social worker, and he does qualify for public defender services.
Okay, as such, if you will put him in touch with a social worker to help him with his housing, it will be, if it's fine with you, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Georgia Tech campus, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Ford. You can't go back to Georgia Tech. All right, good luck, sir.
Positions 8 and 9, Mr. Harris.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Harris. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in CR 006-579F with battery family violence, and in case 23 CR 006-580F with 2 counts of willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history?
This defendant has 5 arrest cycles out of Georgia. No felony convictions. Their last arrest was February the 28th, 2020 out of DeKalb County for an FTA. Nothing further to report.
Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Kind of the facts of the case ending in 6579, the battery family violence is as followed. On November 10th, 2022, the defendant struck the victim in her face with a closed fist, leaving what appeared to be an open laceration on her right eye. The defendant and the victim reside in the same home and are siblings. Your Honor, the recommendation for that case is a signature bond through the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no contact with the victim, that victim being Imani, E-M-I-A-N-I Harris, and if you can sound for her at the completion of the call, that'd be greatly appreciated to adhere to Marcy's Law, a stay away from the incident location and the completion of a family violence intervention program. That incident location is 2825 Middleburg Drive, South Fulton in Fulton County, Georgia. And if we could sound for Miss Imani Harris, that'd be greatly appreciated, Your Honor, as our office has not been able to get in contact with her.
If Miss Imani Harris is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so, Mr. Pierre Thomas. Would you like to go to the next case?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, for the case ending in 6580, the brief facts are as follows. On October 21st, 2023, officers responded to the incident location, that incident location also being 2825 Middleburg Drive in South Fulton in Fulton County, Georgia, in reference to a domestic dispute. While en route, the dispatch advised that the complainant actually being the defendant, stated that his mother was acting irate and attempting to kill him. The officers then approached the front door of the residence and knocked on it multiple times. A juvenile answered the door and was advised to get the defendant. The defendant and his mother exited the residence and onto the front porch. The defendant explained that he and his mother had gotten into an argument and that it stemmed from an incident that occurred the last night. Officers ran the defendant's identification card through dispatch, and it returned back to show that the defendant had a warrant for battery family violence. When Officer D. McCullen asked the defendant to put his hands behind his back, the defendant ignored the lawful command and fled away from the officer toward the street. Officer Lucas had to tackle the defendant, causing both of them to fall onto the front bumper of the patrol car. The defendant then attempted to get back up and continued to flee on foot from the law enforcement officer. A struggle with the defendant then ensued, causing the officer and the defendant to fall to the ground again. Officers were eventually able to gain control of the defendant's arms, and Officer D. McCullen was able to detain him and place him in handcuffs and put his hands behind his back, double locking the handcuffs and checking for fitness. Officer Lucas then saw blood begin to drip from his nose onto his hands and the defendant's back while on the ground. After refusing EMS's evaluation, the defendant was then placed in the rear of a patrol car where he was able to slip his cuffs to the front of his person. Your Honor, the recommendation from the state in this case is a signature bond to the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a behavioral health evaluation and treatment as necessary.
Ms. Abden?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client's 23 years old. He's lived in Georgia his whole life. He has very strong ties to the community. He recently lost his job this past week. He was working at a restaurant. He's currently in the process of looking for work. He just missed his interview at Zaxby's, Your Honor. That was yesterday, and he also has more interviews coming up this week. And so his indigency is a concern, and setting a bond today would be like no bond at all, Your Honor. He cannot afford a bond. And the longer he remains in jail, the more likely it is that he will lose these job opportunities. And for the battery family violence, I have no objection to the signature bond and the no further contact and the stay away. It's my understanding that the incident did occur almost a year ago. It was November 10th, 2022. My client and his sister, the complaining witness, have had no instances of violence since. They've lived in the same home. It sounds like it was a misunderstanding. My client does deny the allegations. He's also in the process of moving out. He just needs to get some of his stuff. So he would not object to a stay away. He would just need a one-time law enforcement officer. And based on my conversation with my client, I do not think that a behavioral health evaluation is necessary at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, for the battery, a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. No further violent contact with Amani Harris. Stay away from the Middlebrook Drive address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. For the willful obstructions, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial, makes for each count, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Your Honor, what level are those?
Level 1.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you. You too.
Come on, Mr. Reed. Position 16, Reed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reed. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video? Thank you, Mr. Reed, CR 006576A with battery family violence and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history?
This defendant is a multi-state offender with arrests out of Georgia and Florida. No felony convictions. Their last arrest was out of Lowndes County for an FTA, and that was on July the 18th, 2023. 2 probation violations and 1 FTA. Nothing further to report.
Mr. P.O. Thomas?
Your Honor, brief facts of this case is that officer was assisting, looks like unit 1304 on an auto accident on 75 southbound Pryor Street Southwest. When the officer arrived, the officer was informed by Zone 5 officer that a male was fighting a female, and upon arrival, the female was screaming, he's hitting me. The officer was advised by Mr. Reed that Mr. Reed struck Mrs. Huffaker, looks like full name Jessica Huffaker, Fuffaker, in the face with a closed fist twice while she was holding their child. The child's initials are AH. The child is 2 years of age. He struck her once in the right cheek and once in the mouth. The officer did not observe Ms. Huffaker to have any injuries in her mouth, but did have swelling to her right cheek. When the defendant was asked what happened, he did not advise. He asked what she said and advised that she stated that, and the officer advised that she stated that he punched her in the face. The defendant then laughed and stated that if he was going to if they were going to lock him up, then do what they must do. Our office was able to get in contact with the victim. I believe she is on the call. She stated that one moment. She stated that there is not a domestic violence history between the two and that she's not afraid. I believe she is on the call. Your Honor, the state's recommendation is a signature bond through the pretrial services, a no further contact with Jessica Huffaker and the daughter, again, initials AH, a no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, a stay away from the residence that they share, and third party transport for the minor child, and a family violence intervention program completion. If at this time we can sound for Ms. Huffaker, first name being Jessica, in accordance with Marcy's law, Your Honor, that'd be greatly appreciated.
If Ms. Huffaker is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in. There you go. Can you raise your right hand, Huffaker?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Before you go on, I just want to make sure that Ms. Abden, is this your case?
No, it is not, Your Honor.
Okay, whose case is it?
I do apologize, Judge. I just noticed this is Adam's case. Let me, we're gonna come back to your case, okay? Yeah.
Okay, is Ms. Adams in the breakout room?
Yes, she is with the Spanish
Okay.
interpreter. Go ahead. I do apologize, Judge.
That's fine.
Mr. Green, position 7.
Ms. Huffaker, we'll have to get back with you as soon as counsel is present. So if you wouldn't mind holding on for us, please.
Okay, that's not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Green. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 006590G with simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
This is his first arrest.
Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Your Honor, the brief facts of this case is on October 21st, 2023, at the incident location, that incident location being 2615 Roosevelt Highway in Atlanta, Georgia. The victim being Orthea, Ortha, Cleckley, Cleckkley, who stays at the residence, stated that her live-in boyfriend placed his hands around her neck and began to choke her. The defendant stated to police that he placed his hands around her neck and choked. Oh, I'm sorry. The defendant himself stated that he placed his hands around the victim's neck and choked her a little bit. Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is a $3,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no contact with the victim, a stay away from that incident location, and the completion of a family violence intervention program. Again, if we could sound from Ms. Cleckley in accordance with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated.
If Ms. Cleckley is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so, Mr. Pierre Thomas.
And our office has not been able to get in contact with her as well. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Abden?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 54 years old. He moved to Georgia when he was 19 years old, does have strong ties to the community. He graduated from high school. He's gainfully employed. He works at Georgia Pallet, where he's been working for the past 37 years, Your Honor. And so the longer he remains in jail, the more likely it is he will lose this job that he's had for a really long time and his livelihood. It's my understanding that he does have somewhere else to stay if a no further contact and a stay away is necessary, and he would not object to that. I am objecting to the family violence intervention program at this time, Your Honor, and since it is his first arrest and he is recommended, I am requesting a signature bond.
It will be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness. The kind, Ms. Cleckley, stay away from the Roosevelt Highway address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Level 1. Anything further, Ms. Abden?
No, that's all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This
Good
is
afternoon.
ACDC.
Hold on, Ms. Milton, we're still going.
I know, I understand, but I need a breakout with the Spanish interpreter for position 14.
She's already in a breakout room with another position right now, so we'll get with you as soon as she gets out of the breakout room with her, the other person, okay?
Muchas gracias, señor.
You're welcome. Who do we have next?
This is position 5, Mr. Elliott.
Good afternoon, Mr. Elliott. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
I do, sir, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Elliott, you've been charged in case 23 CR 006589F with battery family violence. Is there a history?
This defendant has 22 arrest cycles in Georgia, felony conviction in 2001 for purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, sale of marijuana, and possession of a firearm by, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. That was in 2003 as well. 2007 aggravated assault. The last arrest was February the 9th, 2023 out of Fulton County for an FTA. They have an open case for aggravated assault, 22 SC 184102, 2 probation violations and 3 FTAs. Nothing further to report.
Thank you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This case happened on, and my apologies, let me just get to the right screen. I was looking at something else as well. This case occurred on October 19th at around 11:30 p.m. Officers received a fight call to 2040 Stanton Road, apartment J8 in East Point. They spoke with Miss Laquita Palmer, who stated that she and the defendant, her boyfriend, were visiting her mother, Miss Lisa Palmer, at the above address. Ms. Palmer stated that the defendant was currently under the influence of alcohol and behaving in an aggressive manner. Ms. Palmer also stated the defendant approached her and began to strike her multiple times with a closed fist. The mother, Miss Lisa Palmer, stated she observed the defendant attack Ms. Palmer and helped separate the two. Officers did observe small lacerations to Ms. Palmer's forehead, and Ms. Palmer did tell the police that she and the defendant had been in a relationship for 2 years and most recently lived together at the United Inn and Suites in Decatur, Georgia. We did have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Palmer. She stated that they are living together and trying to find a place to live, and they share no children. She did acknowledge that the defendant was drinking and she was trying to get him to go to sleep. She described the incident that happened as a quote unquote little tussle. And she did deny that her mother, Miss Lisa Palmer, had to break up the fight, even though Miss Lisa Palmer stated herself to the police that she was the one who had to break up the altercation between the two of them. I will point out that the defendant is currently on a bench warrant on that 22 SC 184102 case. That was 2 counts of aggravated assault and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, as well as possession of a firearm during commission of a felony and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. That's currently on judicial hold status. He also has a 2007 arrest for domestic violence, a 2007 arrest for aggravated assault, and a 2007 arrest for simple battery. For that reason, we do have concerns that the defendant is likely to reoffend given the circumstances. And additionally, as I stated before, we do have an independent witness in this case who had to separate these two while he was attacking her. For that reason, the state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond. We are asking for a stay away from 2040 Stanton Road, apartment J8, and 4649 Memorial Drive in Decatur, Georgia. No further contact with Miss Laquita Palmer or Miss Lisa Palmer. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We are also asking for the family violence intervention program that the defendant should complete upon release. We would like to sound for Miss Palmer at this time.
If Miss Laquita Palmer or Lisa Palmer are on the line now, would be your opportunity to address the court if you choose. Does not appear so. Ms. McLeod, good afternoon.
Your Honor. I believe the alleged victim was supposed to be on. She did tell me that she would be on, Your Honor. But it appears that she is. But anyway, my client is 44 years old, Your Honor. He denies that he and Laquita had a fight. He tells me that he had been drinking, he was tired, he wanted to sleep, and he doesn't have any memory of anything other than he was trying to sleep. And I think at some point she said that they needed to go home. He said he went to use the bathroom so that they could leave and go home. And next thing he knows, the police were there. When I spoke to the alleged victim, she told me that they did not have a fight and he did not strike her. She completely denies that that happened, Your Honor. My client, he is employed, Your Honor, but he does not make a lot of money. I understand that he does have some history, so I would ask the court to take that into consideration in setting a bond for him. He does tell me that he has to go to work tomorrow, that he's missing work today. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Is this Miss Laquita Palmer that's joined us on the Nokia? Yes, ma'am. Can you speak for me, ma'am?
I'm trying to learn how to.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's you so I can hear you. If you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I would tell you that the only thing that happened that night was he was intoxicated.
Okay. Okay, be steady for me. Don't walk around, okay? Can you find yourself a steady place to talk to me?
Say that again, sir.
Stop walking around for me. Find a steady place to talk to me, okay?
Okay.
All right, so has this ever happened before?
No, sir.
Are you afraid of him?
No.
Do you want him back in the household?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions of Ms. Palmer?
No, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Palmer, how are you today?
I'm fine.
Just one quick question. Who called the police in regards to this incident that happened on the 19th?
My brother called the police that night, but he didn't know what was going on. He just heard my mom screaming, saying, "Get out my house, get out my house." So when he woke up to screaming, he automatically.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
He automatically called the police because he heard my mom's voice screaming, saying, "Get out my house."
Okay. And do you recall you telling the victim advocate that you spoke to this morning that it was a little tussle?
It was a tussle, me trying to put him to sleep and he not realizing he's drunk. I'm trying to lay him down. I'm trying to get him aware of what's going on. Either lay down or we finna leave. It was like pushing. I'm pushing him like laying down, like lay down.
Okay, that's all for this state, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Palmer.
You're welcome.
Okay, it's going to be $1,000 no further violent contact with Miss Laquita Parker or Miss Lisa Palmer, excuse me, Miss Laquita Palmer or Miss Lisa Palmer, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. I'm gonna,
Your Honor, it may have
Right.
been my audio, but it did cut out briefly. Did you say $1,000 surety?
$1,000 surety, yes, I'm sorry. No further violent contact with the alleged victim and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
And in regards to Miss Lisa Palmer?
In
Both,
regards,
I believe he said so.
Well, Miss Lisa Palmer is not here. I would request no further contact with Miss Lisa Palmer. I understand Your Honor is saying no further violent contact with Miss Laquita Palmer. We would object to that, but we would also ask for no further contact from Miss Lisa Palmer.
has anyone heard from Miss Lisa Palmer?
I have not at this time, Your Honor.
I haven't heard from her either, Your Honor.
Okay. No further contact with Ms. Lisa Palmer and to stay away from her residential address.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good
Your
luck
Honor,
to you
that
all.
concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good day. Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Position 2, Kane.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kane. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation. We're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 006591B. Is there history?
This defendant has 5 arrest cycles out of Georgia. The last arrest was December the 2nd, 2021, out of Walton County for burglary, theft by taking, criminal damage to property. It appears that they're on probation for that case. Felony conviction in 2021 for possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, fleeing and attempting to elude law enforcement officers. They received first offender treatment and it was sealed in 2021. And then there's a 2022 burglary conviction. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Falk?
Your Honor, just a brief correction. The defendant's most recent arrest was on October 18th of 2023 this year. He is currently in custody under 23 CP 222724, which is an aggravated assault charge. That bond was denied by Judge Wolf on October 19th, and this incident happened while he was in the jail. So in this case, on October 19th, at the Fulton County Jail, the defendant was observed on the security system where a battery had occurred. The defendant was seen exiting cell 603 after breakfast, which was the cell of Mr. Alejandro Gomez Alvarado. Mr. Alvarado suffered lacerations to the right side of his face and lips and a deep laceration to the left side of his forehead at the hands of the defendant. We are, given the fact that he is currently in jail on a no bond status for that aggravated assault case, we are agreeable to a signature bond through pretrial services, no contact with Mr. Alejandro Gomez Alvarado, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
All right, so Ms. Abner, I take there's not an objection to a signature bond. I will have it go through the jail as opposed to pretrial. No further contact with the alleged drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Kane.
Thank you.
Your Honor, what is that bond amount?
A $2,000 signature bond through the jail.
Thank you.
Judge, the remaining cases that we have is going to be for Ms. Adams. I do have a couple of announcements.
Okay,
For position 1, they waived their appearance.
I'm sorry, say it again for me.
Position 1, Mr. Brian Bush, waived their appearance.
Yes,
Also for position number 11, Eric Jackson, waived their appearance. And also for position 13, Kenneth Pack waived their appearance.
And one more time for me, I apologize. Mr. Bush, what are we doing, Mr. Bush?
They waived their appearance.
Okay. So
Your
we have-
Honor, that's my case if you want to take it while we're waiting.
Okay, thank you. Is all the announcement?
Yes,
Okay. So Mr. Bush is charged with criminal trespass and damage to property. Position number 1 is their history.
This defendant is a multi-state offender with arrests out of Georgia, Texas, and Colorado. A felony conviction in 2021 for entering auto, 2022 possession of cocaine. The last arrest was 5/6/2023 out of DeKalb for a probation violation. There are 7 probation violations, 2 FTAs, and it appears that they are still on probation out of DeKalb. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on October 22nd at 756 West Peachtree Street Northwest. That's the Coda building belonging to Georgia Tech. The officers responded to that address in reference to a criminal trespass. They spoke with building security, who stated an individual kept going into the lobby area messing with a kiosk computer. The security guard, Roger Yoder, stated the defendant appeared to be unhoused and was told to leave the building. And then the security guard called the police because the defendant had damaged one of the kiosk computers. The officer was able to run after the individual who he saw matching the description provided by Mr. Yoder, identified him as the defendant, and the damage to the computer was under $500. State is requesting a signature bond through pretrial services, stay away from Georgia Tech property. We are requesting a BHET prior to the defendant's release to address any issues with the fact that he is residentially challenged and any other MH issues that may come up, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
Ms. Abden, aside from going through pretrial, I will have him have a social worker visit, address concerns of the state. So if it's okay with you, a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, stay away from the incident location, and a social worker visit to housing if there are mental health concerns, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have no objection. I just do want to state for the record, my client does deny the allegations and he asked me to put that on the record.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Abden. Let's see, do you have, Ms. Abden, do you know if you have any, okay, we have someone, courtroom 3 coming back.
2 of my clients are also at ACDC, I believe, Your Honor, so we could do those if you'd like to.
Ms. Adams is back. Courtroom 2, tell me where you'd like for me to go. Are you with me, Francois?
I'm sorry, I was talking and I didn't know I was muted.
Okay, I was just asking for you to tell me where you'd like for me to go.
We can continue on with courtroom 2.
Okay. Would you like for me to do the interpreter case first? That's
Well, he's not back yet,
okay.
probably on the way back now.
Okay, so who do we have next?
Positions 18 and 19, Walker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Walker. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Good afternoon, yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walker, you've been charged in case 23 CR 006584Y with simple battery family violence, and in case 23 CR 006585Y with battery family violence. Is there a history?
This defendant has 9 arrest cycles out of Georgia, no felony convictions. The last arrest was February 13th, 2022 out of Fulton County for simple battery family violence. That case is still open. Case number 22 CR 000719Y. 3 probation violations, nothing further to report.
Okay, Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, and I just want to put on the record that 22 CR 0000719 Y case involved a no further contact with Miss Tasha Martin. Stay away from 320 Fairburn Road, no weapons, alcohol, or drugs. That was signed by Your Honor on February 14th of 2022. I wanted to put that on the record because all of the remaining cases involve Miss Tara Martin, who Your Honor had as a provision of his existing bond that he's currently out on that he must stay away from. So the first incident we can address is the incident on, and let me just go so that we're going in order of how the cases are appearing on the calendar. The first incident is the incident that happened on December 2nd of 2022. In that case, officers responded to a dispute call at 320 Fairburn Road Southwest, which is apartment C8. That is also the address Your Honor told the defendant to stay away from. Miss Tara Martin told police that her boyfriend, the defendant, had a verbal argument with her because she was on the telephone. When he returned home, he did not like her response when she responded, which led to him slapping her on the left side of the face with an open hand prior to him leaving the scene. The officers did not observe any visible injuries in that situation, and Miss Martin did report that she and the defendant had been a couple for 3 years and have lived together for almost a year. In that case, we are asking for a $3,000 surety bond. Stay away from 320 Fairburn Road Southwest, apartment C8, which is again the condition that Your Honor has already ordered. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. No further contact with Tara Martin, and we are also requesting the Family Violence Intervention Program. On the second case, that occurred on January 29th of 2023. In that case, again, at that same address, 320 Fairburn Road Southwest, apartment C8, the officers responded to a fight call. They spoke with Miss Martin, who was the caller. She stated she was slapped in the face twice by the defendant because he got mad because she wanted the car to attend a baby shower. The defendant was not on scene, but the officers did notice swelling to the right side of Miss Martin's face that was documented by the body camera. We did upgrade that offense to a family violence battery, and we have reached out to my apologies. We've reached out to the district attorney's office because the defendant has been convicted previously of family violence battery, which would make this incident a felony if the DA's office does accept our recitation of the facts. We have had an opportunity to speak with Miss Martin. She stated she did confirm the events in the warrant for the January 29th, 2023 incident. Although she does want contact, as I've already stated to Your Honor has already ordered that there be no contact, and so we ask that that be upheld. We are asking for a $3,000 surety bond. Again, stay away from the Fairburn Road address, no further contact with Miss Tara Martin, and Family Violence Intervention Program. We're also asking for no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we would like to sound at this time for Miss Martin.
Ms. Falk, you may have already said this and I missed it, but what was my bond amount on that previous case?
Your bond amount, Your Honor, and I may have omitted that, my apologies, was a $2,000 surety bond. So Your Honor had already given him an opportunity on a $2,000 surety bond, and he is now reoffended twice. And actually there was yes, there are those 2 offenses, one of which we may be upgrading to a felony.
Okay, thank you. And if Ms. Tasha Marshall is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and I believe her name is Tara Martin. I also spoke with her. I'm not sure if she's the person that's listed as iPhone, and we're looking at the truck door because she did explain to me that she drives a dump truck for the city of Atlanta, and sometimes it's hard to hear. I do know that she said she was interested in addressing the court, but I don't know if she's in the space to do so.
Okay, I'm sorry, did I write down the wrong? There's no Tasha Marshall?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. No, her name is Tara Martin.
Tara Martin.
Yeah,
Okay,
Tara, both are the traditional spelling.
I thought there was a Tasha and a Tara.
Your Honor, the no further contact says Tasha, but it is Tara Martin.
Okay.
Thank you. So Ms. Tara Martin, are you on the line? Ms. Adams, so you may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Again, I did also speak with Miss Martin, and as she indicated to the state, she also indicated to me that she does not fear for her life and she does want contact. Miss Martin and Mr. Walker both do live together. They're in a relationship where they care for 6 children ranging from ages 20 to 7, in addition to 2 grandchildren, all of them living in the same home. The grandchildren one is 1 year old and the other one is 6 months old. So a lot of their finances go to caring for all 8 of them, all 8 themselves and the children. He was born right here. Mr. Walker was born right here in Georgia and raised here. So his whole family is here. He has his GED. He graduated from trade school. He's got several trades, which include construction. He's a chemist. That's what he does for a living now. He's a dietitian, carpentry, plumbing, and welding. He's a very active father and grandfather. He engages in outreach with a volunteer place called Redeem Outreach, helping with gardening, giving clothes away, things like that. If the court does require him to take a family violence class, he's more than willing to do that. And he can also go stay with his mother. He would be requesting third-party contact with the children if the court does say provide that he cannot have contact with Ms. Martin.
And Your Honor, I do need to clarify something. So this was my confusing the two. Apparently, Tasha is the daughter of Tara. So the case in which Your Honor has a stay away from that address, which again, he has violated because the incidents that we just gave the recitation of facts are for that same address, involved the daughter of Tara Martin, Tasha Martin. So that first case that Your Honor gave the bond on was with Tasha Martin. These cases are with Tara Martin. And I am merely just speculating here, but I'm not sure if the reason Your Honor gave a surety bond in the case in December may have been because the defendant was currently on probation on 20 CR 004618J, which was a family violence battery, when Your Honor gave that surety bond in 2022 for that incident happening with Tasha Martin.
Okay.
So this is now in a span of a little over 1 year, 4 separate incidents of family violence.
Ms. Adams, your client has his hand up. Mr. Walker, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against. I advise you to allow Ms. Adams to speak with you, but if you do need to speak with her, I'm happy to give you that opportunity. Ms. Adams?
Mr. Walker, do you have a question?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I apologize for everything.
Miss, we're not gonna do all that. What it is, I'm asking you if you have a question. What we don't want is for you to say anything that can affect your cases, okay? So if you do not have a question, I will speak to you at another time, just so we can protect your rights, okay?
Okay. If nothing further, for the simple battery, family violence, a $2,000 surety bond. No further contact with Tara Martin. Stay away from the Fairburn Road address. Third-party transfer of children for visitation. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
I'm sorry, Judge. I had a situation. Can you please repeat?
Oh, yes. $2,000 good bond for the simple battery family violence. For the battery family violence, a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Ms. Martin. The stay away. Third-party transfer. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
He has another question, Ms. Adams.
Do you have a question or do you want to try to state your case? You have a question? He's on mute.
Go ahead.
I was trying to say, Miss I think Miss Martin back. If I want to ask her anything, she's back. Miss Martin, I ain't give her a chance to talk. She is at work.
Okay, I understand, Judge. He's just trying to point out the fact that Miss Martin may not be available to speak.
She is available to speak. She now.
Okay, so Mr. Walker, that's enough.
Is she on the line with us?
I believe she's listed as iPhone. You were looking at the sky in the picture.
Call her name.
Ms. Martin, if you're with us, Tara Martin. Are you with us, Ms. Martin? So I'm not sure if she can hear us or if that's. Or if she's there. All right, if she wishes to address the court at some further point, of course, it can be modified.
Mr. Walker, that's enough. Please don't interrupt the judge.
Address the court at a later time. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Walker.
Judge, for the, there's also a third one on his 3 card for simple family violence. Has that been NOD'd or?
I don't see it on the calendar.
Your Honor, just to clarify on that case, when we pulled up the warrant, that was a duplicate warrant of the arrest that was made on 22 CR 0000719Y. So he has already been booked on and been given a CR number and a bond on that case. So were you able to hear me, courtroom 2?
Yes.
So we can't NOD the warrant because he's already been booked in on that warrant. So if there's a way to, pardon?
You said it's a duplicate?
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and answer that. You had a question?
Yeah, every time she come back to the phone, I'm trying
Raise your
to
hand.
teach.
We're gonna have to go on. I'm sorry, Mr. Walker. She's not with us.
Every time she comes, she is at work. She is at work. She can't have the phone at her job. So she putting the phone down. Every time she moving the phone right now, that's the time I'm trying to get her attention. Because her input will help out with this case. Out of respect. Her input will help out. She driving trucks. I'm asking y'all get her attention for me.
Well, I don't know how else to get her attention except for the sound for her, Mr. Walker. We have to move on to the next person. If she comes on within a reasonable period of time, I will try to go back with her. Can we have the next person, please, courtroom 2?
We can do the Spanish interpreter case, Judge.
Okay.
Come on, Mr. Lopez. I'll be sit right here. It's position 12.
Okay, Ms. Chancey, if you can raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm that you will translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English to the best of your ability?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lopez. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. We are conducting this hearing to have your case heard by video.
Buenas tardes, señor López. Yo soy el juez Morrow y estamos conduciendo esta sesión a larga distancia. ¿Está de acuerdo con que sigamos su caso a través de video?
Sí.
Yes.
You've been charged with battery family violence.
Usted tiene un cargo por golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar.
Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
¿Hay antecedentes?
This is his
Señor
first
Hardy.
arrest.
Este es su primer arresto.
Ms. Falk?
That's right.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on October 21st, 2023 at 756 Mimosa Boulevard in Roswell, Georgia.
Este evento sucedió el 21 de octubre del 2023 a las 7:56 en Mimosa Boulevard, Roswell, Georgia.
Officer spoke to Nora Hernandez, who stated that one of her roommates, the defendant, and his girlfriend, Elizabeth Lopez, had been arguing.
Esta denuncia, la policía respondió a la denuncia de Nora Hernández, declarando que una de sus compañeras de departamento tenía una discusión con su novio. El nombre de ella era Elizabeth López.
Ms. Hernandez stated that the defendant had threatened her, stating he would kill her, and that the defendant has a history of abusing Ms. Lopez.
Esta persona declaró que a la compañera con matarla y que el señor López tiene antecedentes de haber tratado a la compañera con violencia.
The defendant claimed that he and Ms. Lopez had been arguing, but nothing more, and that Ms. Hernandez likes to cause problems between himself and Ms. Lopez.
El acusado declaró que ellos habían tenido una discusión y nada más, pero que la señora Hernández siempre trata de causar problemas entre ellos dos.
Officers then spoke to Ms. Lopez, who stated that she and the defendant had been arguing since he had gotten home from work, and that around 11:50 p.m., things turned physical.
La policía habló con la señorita López, quien declaró que ella y el señor López habían estado discutiendo desde que él llegó del trabajo, pero ya a las 11:50 se tornó en una confrontación física.
Ms. Lopez stated while they were arguing, the defendant grabbed her wrist, which caused damage to her wrist and knuckles when she pulled away.
La señorita López declaró que el acusado la había tomado por la muñeca, causándole daño a la muñeca y a los nudillos al tratar de deshacerse del agarre.
Ms. Lopez also stated that while he had her wrist, he grabbed her by the throat.
Y también declaró la señora López que mientras él la agarraba de la muñeca, también la tomó y la agarró del cuello.
The officer observed swelling and markings both to Ms. Lopez's hands and wrists.
El oficial observó áreas inflamadas y marcas en el lado de la cara y la muñeca.
The state is requesting that the bond remain as currently set at $5,000 surety bond.
La fiscalía pide que la fianza permanezca como se estableció a $5,000 bajo garantía.
We are asking for a stay away from 756 Mimosa Boulevard in Roswell, as well as no further contact with Elizabeth Lopez or Nora Hernandez.
Solicitamos que él se mantenga distanciado de la dirección 756 Mimosa Boulevard en Roswell, Georgia, y que no tenga ningún contacto con Elizabeth López o Nora Hernández.
Finally, we are asking for the Family Violence Intervention Program and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
También se solicita que se someta a un programa de intervención de violencia familiar y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
We would like to sound for Ms. Lopez at this time.
Queremos llamar a la señorita López en este momento. Elizabeth López está presente en la plataforma, por favor. Prenda su cámara. Elizabeth López.
Does not appear that she's on the line with us.
Thank you.
No parece estar.
Ms. Adams?
Señorita Adams.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lopez is originally from Guatemala and he has a 6th grade education.
El señor López es de Guatemala y tiene educación de 6º grado.
He's been living in the United States for 2 years and he has family here.
Él tiene familia en los Estados Unidos y ha estado viviendo aquí por 2 años.
He's gainfully employed. He met Miss Lopez at his previous job and now has a new job where they no longer work together.
Él tiene un empleo remunerable, se conoció con la señorita López en su empleo anterior, pero ahora tiene un trabajo diferente, o sea que no tiene contacto, no trabajan juntos más.
He's 19 years old and this is his very first arrest in life.
Este es el primer arresto en su vida y él tiene 19 años.
If the court is so inclined, we will be a signature bond, considering that he's never been in trouble with the law before.
Tenemos que solicitarle que si por favor el juez tiene la inclinación de otorgarle una fianza bajo firma debido a que nunca ha tenido un arresto antes.
And if the court does issue a stay away order, he does have a place to go. He can go stay with his cousin.
Y si su señoría emite una orden a que se mantenga distanciado de la residencia, él tiene un lugar a donde quedarse con su primo.
And lastly, Your Honor, Mr. Lopez denies the rendition of events, the way that it was written in the report.
Y por último, su señoría quería establecer que el acusado niega los cargos como se han establecido en el informe policial.
Does he have belongings at that Mimosa Boulevard address that he needs to get, Ms. Adams?
More than likely, yes, Your Honor, because he lives there.
Tiene pertenencias que retirar de esa dirección de Mimosa Boulevard. Sí, creo que sí, su señoría, porque vive ahí.
Okay.
Your Honor, I do
Yes, Ms.
want
Clark.
to put something on the record just to perfect the record. I know that the public defender says he has never been in trouble with the law. He was arrested in 2021 in Texas for alien removal.
It wasn't on the report.
Señora Adams dijo que nunca había sido arrestado antes, pero sí fue arrestado en el 2021 por no tener residencia documentada.
That didn't show up on the report, the pre-trial report, Your Honor. But either way, that's still not violent, so we're still requesting a signature bond.
No se vio que no apareció en la búsqueda de sus antecedentes y de todos modos ese no es un cargo relacionado con la violencia.
And it did show up as part of his NCIC when we ran his GCIC, Your Honor.
Pero sí apareció en otra búsqueda que hicimos en el NSI y CGIC.
Client has his hand up, Ms. Adams. Would you like to address him?
Mr. Lopez, do you have a question about the case or do you want to explain what happened?
Señor López, ¿usted tiene una pregunta o quiere explicar algo de lo que pasó?
De lo que dice sobre el cuello, sí,
¿Es una pregunta o explicar algo?
sí, explicar.
No,
To
now,
explain something.
yeah, now is not the time to explain anything.
En este momento no es el más recomendable para explicar nada.
Okay.
If you would like to talk to me, we can speak later, okay?
Si usted quiere hablar conmigo, podemos hablar más tarde. ¿Está bien?
Oh, está bien.
That's fine.
Nomás quería si podían contactarla a ella ahorita.
I just would like to ask if you could contact her now.
Now, that would have been did the state reach out to her?
¿La fiscalía la contactó a ella?
Aún no sé.
No, I'm asking Ms. Falk whether or not
Le
the
está
state reached
preguntando a la señora Falk.
Me preguntó que cómo
Le
estaba.
está preguntando a la señora Falk, a usted no.
PD Adams, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, Ms. Falk, I was asking whether or not the state had reached out to the complaining witness.
So the issue is that the warrant did not provide any information by which we could reach out to the complaining witness. We did try to run a clear search, but we did not have additional information with which we could locate her. So we are waiting for the police report to give us more information.
Understood. So, Ms. Chauncey can just say that she hasn't been reached, and we'll leave it at that.
Fiscalía no había tratado de contactarla.
¿Y puedo dar el número yo?
Can I give the phone number?
We're not going to do that right now. We have to move on in court.
No vamos a hacer eso ahora, tenemos que seguir con el tribunal.
Okay.
Okay, it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Lopez or Ms. Hernandez. Stay away from the Mosa Boulevard address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve belongings. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Muy bien, se otorga una fianza bajo firma de $5,000. No puede tener más contacto ni con la señora Elizabeth López ni Nora Hernández. Tampoco puede volver a la casa solamente una sola vez a retirar sus pertenencias personales y queda prohibido todo uso de droga, alcohol y armas.
No uso drogas.
I don't use drugs.
Okay, good luck to you, sir.
Muy bien, buena suerte, señor.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Judge, what was the bond amount, please?
$5,000 signature bond through the jail.
Thank you.
You're done. Last thing for Ms. Pinheiro, Ms. Adams. I can't hear you.
Sorry, she's in ACDC, Your Honor. Ms. Abden has a few people that are in ACDC, and she is willing to take over my client, Miss Miss Panero, who's also there. She has some people that she needs to speak to at ACDC. So in the interest of time, Your Honor, we're asking whether or not Miss Abden can be and Miss Chauncey can be placed in a breakout space with ACDC.
Okay, that's fine with me. Officer Milton, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're gonna place Ms. Abden, ACDC, and Ms. Chauncey into a breakout room so that Ms. Abden then can discuss with her clients and also with Madam Interpreter, and we'll go and take whatever cases we have left in courtroom 2, if that's okay with you, Francois.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
And Your Honor, I just need to speak with the Spanish interpreter client, not anybody else. Just wanted
Okay.
them to know that. Thank you.
Okay.
Come on, Mr. Poole. Cool, have a seat. We're gonna do position 15, Mr. Poole.
Who do we have?
Position 15, Poole.
Good afternoon, Mr. Poole. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 006574J with battery, family violence, and battery against a female who is pregnant. Is there?
This defendant is a multi-state offender with arrests out of Florida, Illinois, and Oregon. Felony conviction in 2008 for possession of a controlled substance. Also in 2008, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. 2012, possession of controlled substance. The last arrest was November 15th, 2020, out of Miami Beach for interference with prisoners and resisting officers. And that case appears to be open. Nothing further to report.
Thank you, Mr. Pierre Thomas.
Your Honor, brief facts of the case is that officer responded to a call at 8060 Adair Lane in Sandy Springs in reference to a domestic violence call. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with the victim, Miss Kayla, K-A-Y-L-A, Reddick, R-E-D-D-I-C-K. According to the victim, approximately 30 minutes prior to the officer's arrival, said accused said accused and the victim began to argue about living arrangements. During the argument, said accused then began to jump on the victim while the victim was stuck in the corner. According to the victim, jump means to hit or fight. The victim then escaped the corner and exited the apartment. However, said accused then grabbed her and pulled her into the apartment, causing scratches underneath her armpit. The accused stated that the parties got into an argument and he was unaware that Ms. Riddick, the victim, had sustained any injuries. The injuries were scratchings on the left side of her face, under the left side of her armpit, and her left wrist. All injuries were deep enough to draw small traces of blood. The victim is pregnant with the accused's child. This event took place at the apartment, and the accused and the victim lived together. According to the victim, the two parties have lived together for approximately 1 month, Your Honor. The recommendation from the state is a signature bond through the pretrial services, a stay away from that incident location, 850 Adair Lane in Sandy Springs, a no further contact with Kayla Riddick, a no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and the completion of a family violence intervention program. And if at this time we could sound for Ms. Kayla Riddick in accordance with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated.
So the violence and the battery against a female who is pregnant, that's the same alleged victim.
I do believe so, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if Ms. Kayla Riddick is on the call, now is your opportunity to address the court.
And Your Honor, just to clarify, we did charge in the alternative so that when we discovered that she was in fact pregnant at the time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Falk. Ms. Riddick? Doesn't appear so. Ms. Adams?
My apologies. I started talking while I was still on mute. Yes, Your Honor. First and foremost, defense does not object to a signature bond. That he does have a baby on the way. Mr. Poole, this is Mr. Poole's first child. He's gainfully employed. He's actually self-employed. He has his own business. Based on the discussions that we have had, he does not have a violent criminal history. He has been in Georgia for about 1.5 years. He has family here. And he does have an alternative place to go if the court does recommend that he not return to the home. In addition to that, he has completed 2 years of college. He has a driver's license, a car, and he actually participates in volunteering. He has a fundraiser that's going to be coming up this Friday. So hopefully, if he's out, Judge, he'll be able to attend that and continue to work. I'm not sure if the state has had contact with the complaining witness. But being that she's pregnant with his first child, we would request no violent contact with her.
And we have not been able to get in contact with her, just to perfect the record.
Okay, and you haven't either, Ms. Adams?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so without contact with Ms. Riddick, he's going to have to stay away at this point in time. It can be modified down the road once her concerns are addressed. For each charge, it will be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. So a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial. Level 1 day anger awareness. No further contact with Ms. Riddick at this time. Stay away from the Adair Lane address. He can go back there on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, good luck to you, Mr. Poole.
Position 16, read.
Did we not already do read?
Yeah.
16?
No, Your Honor. Mr. Reed is my client.
Oh, okay. Ms. Adams, we didn't realize it was your client. Mr. Reed was already before us. He was charged with battery, family violence. We did get his history. And I received the facts of the case. I was about to hear from Ms. Huffbecker in regards to this. So if you would like us to repeat the history and to repeat the facts, I'll be happy to do that, Ms. Adams.
The only thing I would like to hear over is the history. The facts are in the affidavit and I've read them.
Okay. May we have the history again for Mr. Reed?
Okay, this defendant has a total of 8 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia and Florida. Their last arrest was July the 18th, 2023 for an FTA out of Lowndes County. 2 probation violations, 1 FTA, and no felony convictions.
Okay, are you still with us, Ms. Huffaker?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, if you can activate your camera for. Yes, ma'am. Raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what would you like to tell? You can put your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
This is a first offense for him. He's an active father. He has other children. His responsibility. I feel like this incident happened is an occurrence just heightened emotions from the accident that he was in prior to this altercation. I don't fear for my life. I'm not scared of him. Like I said, he's an active father with our child. So I don't, like I said, I'm not scared. I don't have any issues with him being around or being around my daughter.
And this has never happened before?
No.
Okay. For the battery family violence, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. For the cruelty, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Huffaker, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Adams?
It does, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Reed. You also, Ms. Huffaker.
Thank you so much.
Position 10, Mr. Harrison.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harrison. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you have your case heard?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 006581F with simple battery family violence.
This defendant has 6 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia and Virginia. The last arrest was December 18th, 2008, out of Clayton for disorderly conduct. Nothing further to report.
Ready for me, Your Honor?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. P.O. Thomas.
You're great. The brief facts of the case, Your Honor, is that on October 22nd, 2023, the officer made contact with the victim being Michelle Harrison, traditional spelling, who advised that her husband, the defendant, had just returned to the home after being away since Friday, October 20th, leaving her and their daughter with no water. The victim stated that the defendant arrived and he immediately picked up some water that the victim stated that she was using for the dishes and to flush the toilet. The victim stated that she confronted him about it and a verbal altercation ensued. The victim stated that the defendant was in her face yelling and calling her names, then eventually struck her with his elbow in her throat. The defendant advised a similar incident. He stated that the victim confronted him about the water. She got in his face yelling, and she started yelling. And while she was yelling, she pointed and continued to point, making contact with his face. He stated that in reaction to that, he put his left arm up to stop her from touching his face. He denied elbowing the victim in her throat. Neither party at the time had any visible injuries, according to the officer. The recommendation from the state is a signature bond through the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no contact, a stay away from that incident location, and a family violence and the completion of a family violence intervention program. Our office has not been able to get in contact with the victim. So if at this time we can sound for the victim, looks like Michelle Harrison, in accordance with Marcy's law.
Is Ms. Harrison on the line? And if so, do you wish to address the court? Does not appear that Ms. Harrison is on the line. Ms. Adams, have you had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Adams? I mean, Ms. Harrison?
Ms. Harrison, no, Your Honor, I have not.
Okay, and that, I'm gonna give him a signature bond through pretrial, level 1. If it's okay with you, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Harrison, given that no one has spoken with her. Stay away from the incident location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Adams?
Your Honor, what was the amount on the signature bond?
Say it again.
What was the amount on the? Am I muted?
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Okay, that's suitable. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Good luck to you, Mr. Harrison. He has a question, Ms. Adams?
Oh, yes, I do have a question, Your Honor.
Yes.
He does have a 12-year-old daughter, Judge, and we would like to also ask for contact.
Okay, yes, of course. I'm not going to keep a father away from his child. Third party transfer of the minor child for visitation. He still has his hand up, Ms.
Do you
Adams.
have another question, or do you want to talk about the facts of the case, Mr. Harrison?
I guess a question for the judge. I will be homeless if I can't live at that home. I don't make a lot of money. We are married for 12 years and I will be homeless. I don't have anywhere to live. My parents are deceased. I'm not. And I promise not to be violent, to do violent contact. I just have nowhere else to live, nowhere else.
Well, we have not heard from Ms. Harrison. Until someone hears from Ms. Harrison, I'm happy once I hear from her to modify terms, but until we hear from her, then the court is not comfortable in allowing any type of contact at this time. So once we hear from Ms. Harrison, then Ms. Adams, of course, will seek to modify the bond.
Your Honor, if I may, if Mr. Harrison can provide the deputy with Ms. Harrison's phone number, and while the court is handling some other matters, when Ms. Admin gets back, I can go ahead and try to reach out to her to see whether or not she can get on.
That's fine with the court.
Okay.
And Your Honor, if I may put the incident location on the record, I believe I may have glossed over that. It's 400 Damascus, Damascus Court, South Fulton in Fulton County, Georgia.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, while Ms. Adams does that, do we have anyone else in courtroom too?
That was the last person, Judge.
I do have one quick question, Your Honor. Regarding position 18 and 19. How you doing, Officer?
Good. How are you today?
All right. When I checked Odyssey, it still has 3 charges, so I'm not sure if the other simple battery was handled in court today.
Right. The other simple battery, just to put it on the record again, that case was a duplicate warrant that for some reason the defendant was booked on again, but the original warrant has already been charged under, let me pull up that case number again. Let's see, Mr. Walker's case.
Just an FYI, Ms. Falk, you know, that charge is not modified in Odyssey. They will not release this. Mr. Walker, Howard Walker. So
the records has to go, it's records who has to make that correction for that charge, because it's a duplicate warrant. If records look at the previous bookings, they'll see that that case is already open.
And Your Honor, that is Miss Glover with our office.
Very good.
And yes, so it is a duplicate of the 22 CR 00719Y case. I can reach out to Ms. Arnold and address that it was a duplicate warrant that the defendant was arrested on to make sure that he can just address his remaining 2 cases.
I appreciate it, Ms. Falk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So Ms. Adams, if you will try to get that information for your client. The court's going to take a brief recess while we wait for ACDC to come back on the line.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Falk, or I'm not sure if the victim's advocate is still on the line. If either one of you wouldn't mind sending me the complaining witness's phone number in the chat, that would be very helpful.
He said to give her phone number to Miss Adams.
You need her number? I'll give it to you.
No. Oh, yeah, so I can call her and give her a number.
You should probably go on courtroom 2 is not on mute.
Okay. Go ahead and have a seat for me.
Thank you.
Who want to ask a question? Hey, Miss Adams.
Yes,
Hey, one of your clients have a question for you. Did you want them to just call you?
preferably, yes. Which one of my clients is it?
Read.
Yeah, if you could
I'll
call,
give you
that
a
would
call.
be better. Mhm.
Also, Judge Morrow. Judge Morrow.
What's his name?
We're back and ready.
Okay, let's see, Ms. Abdom, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and this is position number 14, Ms. Pinero. Okay, yeah, good afternoon, Ms. Pinero. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Buenas tardes, señora Piñero. Yo soy el juez Morrow y esta es la audiencia de casos de trámite rápido a través de video. ¿Está de acuerdo que continuemos su caso de esta manera? No le escucho. ¿Está de acuerdo?
Sí.
Yes.
You have been charged with battery family violence.
¿Usted tiene un cargo de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar?
Is there a history?
¿Hay antecedentes?
No.
This is
No.
our first arrest.
Este es el primer arresto.
Okay, Mr. Pierre Thomas.
Your Honor, brief facts of the case is that officers responded to a domestic violence call on October 21st, 2023.
Este es un caso relacionado a una llamada a los oficiales de policía por un altercado de violencia doméstica el día 21 de octubre del 2023.
Upon arrival, the officer met with both roommates living together who were outside.
Al llegar la policía, se reunió con ambas de las inquilinas y afuera de la residencia.
The victim, Miss Juana, Johanna Colazo, Collazo.
La víctima, Juana Johanna Colazo,
had visible marks on her face from an altercation with the accused.
tenía marcas visibles en la cara debido al altercado con la acusada.
The victim stated that the accused was intoxicated and attacking her by grabbing her hair and face.
La víctima declaró que la acusada estaba embriagada y que la tomó del cabello y la cara,
Leaving visible injuries.
dejando lesiones visibles.
The accused stated that the victim started the fight and that she had marks on her face.
La acusada dijo que la víctima había empezado la pelea y le dejó marcas en la cara.
Witnesses on the scene stated that the accused had the victim by the hair and was hitting her.
Pero las declaraciones de los testigos dijeron que la acusada había tomado a la víctima del cabello y la había golpeado.
Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is a signature bond through the pretrial services.
Su señoría, la recomendación de la fiscalía es una fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio.
A stay away from that incident location, that location being 404 Summer Drive.
Y que se mantenga alejada de la residencia del 404 Summer Drive.
No further contact with the victim, Johanna Colazo.
No tener más contacto con la víctima, Johanna Colazo.
No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1 day of anger awareness.
una clase de manejo de la ira y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
Your Honor, if at this time we could sound for the victim, Miss Joanna Colozo, in adherence with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Si podemos llamar, por favor, a la víctima Joanna Coloso, sería genial. Joanna Coloso está presente.
Ms. Colosio is on the line. Now is your opportunity to address the court. Doesn't appear so. Ms. Abden?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 42 years old.
Gracias. Y mi cliente tiene 42 años.
She's been living consistently in Georgia for the past 10 months.
Ella ha vivido continuamente por los últimos 10 meses en Georgia.
She does have a lot of friends here, Your Honor, and so she does have ties to the community.
Ella tiene conexiones en la comunidad porque tiene muchos amigos.
She finished her first year of law school in Mexico.
Y terminó su primer año de abogacía en México.
It's my understanding for my client that it was a misunderstanding and the complaining witness was drinking.
Mi cliente afirma que esto fue un desentendido, un malentendido, y la víctima estaba también embriagada.
And my client denies the allegations.
Y mi cliente niega los alegatos.
The complaining witness and my client have never had any other prior instances of violence.
La víctima y mi cliente nunca han tenido ningún otro incidente violento.
Unfortunately, my client doesn't have her contact information, so I was unable to speak with her as she was not given the opportunity to get any numbers out of her phone due to the language barrier.
Desafortunadamente no tengo ningún tipo de contacto o información para hablar con la víctima o hacer una llamada porque mi clienta fue denegada de su posesión de su teléfono debido a una barrera de lenguaje.
She did also tell me that she has no reason to believe that the complaining witness fears her.
También me afirmó que no tiene ningún motivo para creer que la víctima le tenga temor a ella.
And if Your Honor is inclined to order a stay away and a no further contact, my client would be able to abide by that, but would need a one-time law enforcement escort to the address.
Y su señoría tiene la inclinación de ordenar de emitir una orden de distanciamiento de la residencia y no tener más contacto con la víctima. Mi cliente tiene con quien, a dónde alojarse, perdón, y solo necesitará una oportunidad para ir y retirar sus pertenencias personales.
As she has no criminal history and this is her first arrest, I am requesting that signature bond be through the jail and objecting to the one day anger awareness is the allegations do not show that is necessary at this time.
Debido a que no hay antecedentes penales, solicito que la fianza sea bajo firma a través de la cárcel, no como se requirió por parte de la Fiscalía, y también que no se le otorgue un día de clase de manejo de la ira debido a que no cumple los requisitos de acuerdo a los hechos.
And Your Honor, she's not currently working, and so her indigency is a concern at this time, and I am asking you to take that into consideration when setting bond today.
También su señoría, ella no está trabajando en este momento, por eso quisiera que tuviese consideración con ese hecho.
That is all.
Eso es todo.
It will be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact at this time with Ms. Colazzo. Stay away from the Summer Drive address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Establezco una fianza de $3,000 bajo firma a través de la cárcel. No puede tener ningún contacto con la víctima, señorita Colazo. Manténgase distanciada de la residencia en Summer Drive. Puede ir solamente en una ocasión para retirar sus pertenencias personales y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
Good luck to you, Ms. Pinero.
Buena suerte, señora Pinero.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Can I ask you a question?
Ms. Abden?
If you could just please tell her that we can talk another time. She got a signature bond, so she's going to be processed out.
Mire, si por favor podemos hablar en otro momento. Usted ha obtenido una fianza bajo firma, así que desde ahora empiezan a procesarla para darle libertad. Okay.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Okay. And do we? Yes, thank you, Ms. Chancey, as always.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Have a good
You're
afternoon.
welcome. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Judge, real quick,
Yes.
I just walked in. What was the bond amount for her?
3,000 signature through the jail.
Next position,
14.
14.
and you said 3,000 SOB through the jail?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who do we have next at ACDC?
Position 3. Miss Clementine Hill.
It's Clements Hill.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Clements Hill. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Clements Hill, you've been charged in case 23 CR 006587F with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant has 4 arrest cycles in Georgia. The last arrest was July the 19th, 2023, out of Clayton County for battery and criminal trespass. It appears that they're currently on probation out of Clayton. And there's a possible open case out of Hateville for burglary and criminal damage. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident happened on October 21st. I feel like I'm getting some feedback. Okay, my apologies. This incident happened October 21st, 2023 at 600 Greens Ferry Avenue Southwest. Officers were dispatched to that location in reference to a domestic dispute with injuries. They spoke with Miss Kimbra Hill, who stated that her niece, along with a friend, had jumped on her, leaving 2 knots on Miss Hill's forehead. She stated that she'd come home to her house not being cleaned and asked her niece, the defendant, why she had not cleaned up the house. And at that point, it turned into an argument. At that time, Miss Hill asked the defendant, her niece, to leave. She stated that the defendant began hitting her in the face with a closed fist, which caused swelling to her forehead, and that the defendant's friend hit her as well, but she did not have any information in regards to that friend. There was a third party who stated that she had not, excuse me, just a moment, Miss Kimura, who stated that the defendant was at home when her mother came home asking about the defendant. Miss Kimura stated that the victim was upset because the defendant had not been keeping the house clean, that there was an argument. And Miss Kimura said that the defendant left the apartment. At that point, the victim grabbed the keys from the defendant, and that's when the defendant turned around, began punching Miss Kimbra in the face, Miss Kimbra Hall in the face, and the friend then jumped in. And just to reiterate, the keys that the victim was taking away from the defendant were the keys to the victim's home, because the victim was allowing the defendant to stay there and then asked her to leave due to her not being able to keep the house clean and not doing what she had agreed to do in order to stay there. I do want to point out that the defendant does have a recent 2023 battery that they're under 12 months probation. That's 23 CR 06614. That case is out of Clayton County. And it was a battery, family violence, criminal trespass, and simple battery, family violence. And so with that recent conviction, we do have concerns about the risk of reoffense. For that reason, the state is asking for $2,000 surety bond, stay away from 600 Greens Ferry Avenue Southwest, no further contact with Miss Kimbra Hill. We're also asking for a BHET and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We would like to sound for Miss Kimbra Hill at this time. Thank you, Your Honor.
If Ms. Kimbra Hill is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Ms. Abden?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 21 years old. She's lived in Georgia her whole life. She graduated from high school in Georgia, and so she does have strong ties to the community. Without going too much into the facts, Your Honor, my client firmly denies the allegations. It's my understanding that she tried to call the police during a verbal altercation for help. She wasn't able to reach the operator at that time. She tried to remove herself from the situation, and she was not the first aggressor. And so I understand the court's concern and the state's concern, given the other violent case that is open at this time, but and the fact that she's on probation, Your Honor, but that is with a different complaining witness, and this situation was a misunderstanding, as I've stated, and so she does deny the allegations. She does not object to a stay away, a no further contact. She doesn't have any belongings at this location, and so she won't even need to be going back. She is currently unemployed. She was helping the complaining witness out, who's her aunt, with her kids due to some issues with DFACS. That is my understanding, and so she does not need to go back there, Your Honor. I am asking for a signature bond, and I did connect her with a social worker, Your Honor, but a BHET is not necessary at this time.
It'll be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, level 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Hill, stay away from the Greens Ferry address, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that through the jail, Your Honor, or pretrial?
It's through pretrial.
Next, we have position 4, Trinity Edwards.
Good afternoon, Ms. Edwards. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards, you've been charged in case 23 CR 006588A with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and theft by shoplifting. Is there a history?
There's no adult history to report at this time.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts of this case are as follows. If Your Honor will just give me one moment. This incident happened at 1105 Research Center in Atlanta. That was the location of Walmart. The defendant, essentially the loss prevention manager, Lindell Wilson, stated that he had video footage of the defendant inside the store concealing and stealing Walmart merchandise. When he attempted to stop the defendant and a co-defendant who is a juvenile, they pushed past Mr. Wilson, fled the parking lot. The officer then observed the juvenile running through the parking lot, were able to detain her and placed her in were able to detain her. While detaining her, the defendant then ran up to the vehicle of the officer, opened the back door of the police car, and tried to free her co-defendant. The defendant was then detained, and both the defendant and the juvenile were taken into custody. The officer was able to observe the footage showing both the defendant and the juvenile concealing the items. And just as a fun little aside, the defendant was also wearing a pair of slippers that she had stolen from Walmart, worth $15.98 when they placed her into custody. She had them on her feet. The only history that we have for this defendant is in 2020 is a juvenile history. We are agreeable to a signature bond through pretrial services. Stay away from the Walmart at 1105 Research Center in Atlanta, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons at this time.
If okay with you, Ms. Abnam, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through the jail on each count, makes it a total of a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Walmart Research Center, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Abnam?
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Edwards.
Thank you. Next, we have position 17, Ms. Tucker.
Good afternoon, Ms. Tucker. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 006583Y with hit and run and following too closely. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
This is her first arrest.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on August 30th of 2023 at East Paces Ferry Road Northeast and Grandview Avenue. At that location, there was a two-vehicle collision. Mr. Fair was driving a BMW. The defendant was driving a Mercedes. Mr. Fair stated he stopped at the traffic signal and his vehicle was struck in the rear by the defendant's vehicle. The two of them exited the vehicle, tried to inspect the damages and exchange information. That Mr. Fair stated he asked the defendant for her insurance information. She stated she would text it to him and then said she would just pay for the damages. He then responded that he would prefer to call the police and file a report. And then when he went to go get his phone, he observed that he had a text message, and then he saw the defendant drive away. He then attempted to he then remained on the scene, called the police, and filed a report. In the weeks that followed, he attempted to establish communication with the number that she had given him, and was unable to reach him. And the defendant was identified by the officers, and then a warrant was issued for her at that time. We are asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with William Fair, who was the driver of the other vehicle, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no driving at all unless there's valid license registration on the vehicle. That's all for the state.
Ms. Adams, if okay with you, it'll be a $1,000 signature bond through the jail on each count, making for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Mr. Fair, no driving without proper credentials, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
Yes, Your Honor, it does. Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, for position 4, what was her amount again, please?
Position 4.
Yes, Trinity Edwards.
It's a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, $1,000 on each count.
Thank you for everything. You guys are wonderful.
You have a good day. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Okay, we have a couple of waivers, it's my understanding. Position number 11, Eric Jackson. Let's see, does position 11, Mr. Jackson, or does Mr. Jackson have a history?
Mr. Jackson has 6 arrest cycles in Georgia. Last arrest was June 20th of this year out of Cobb County for a CWAC charge, and that's still open. It looks like they're on probation. Case number 22 CR 008449Y, 22 SC 180848, and 23 SC 185797. Nothing further to report.
Mr. Pierre Thomas.
Your Honor, brief facts of the case is that on October 5th, 2023, the officer arrived at the incident location, that incident location being 1870 Myrtle Drive Southwest, apartment C3 in Atlanta, Georgia, for a dispute. The officer spoke with the victim being Mejia Jackson, M-E-Y-A-H, Jackson traditional spelling, who advised that she and her son, the defendant, were arguing. The victim stated that the defendant started hitting her in her head and in the face with a closed fist several times, causing visible swelling and several knots to form on her head and her face. The victim and the defendant also lived together. Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is a $3,000 surety bond, a no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, a no contact with the victim, a stay away from that incident location, and a family violence intervention program completion. I'd just like to point out, Your Honor, that the defendant looks like he's on 2 separate probations, one for a 2023 felony theft by taking out of Fulton County, where he received 2 years of probation, another for entering auto, where he received 2 years for probation. Looks like, I believe it's possibly in another case for a 2023 case for robbery, battery, and other charges. Looks like another 2023 case for sexual battery, and a slew of other convictions, Your Honor. Our office was not able to get in contact with the victim, but I would like to also point out that the 2022 simple battery family violence conviction is the same victim, his mother. The 2023 simple battery family violence conviction out of Fulton County is the same victim, his mother. And so that is the indicia for the $3,000 surety bond request today. Your Honor, if we could sound for the victim, the mother, Ms. Mejia Jackson, in accordance with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated.
If Ms. Mejia Jackson is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so, Mr. Pierre Thomas. Ms. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm requesting that one of our social workers go pay Mr. Jackson a visit, just to try to make sure that he, rather than giving too much information, I'm requesting that one of our social workers go see him. Additionally, Mr. Jackson has a 10th grade education. He informed me that he does work. He works for a restaurant downtown. And he does help. He has his driver's license, and he does help to take care of his grandmother, not his mother, but his grandmother. And so, Your Honor, we understand that he does have some of the cases going on, but we are requesting a signature bond or a low bond for him because he also does not make very much money. And due to his indigency issues, a higher bond would be similar to no bond at all for him.
Okay, given that he has 2 other cases with his mom, at this time it's going to be a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Ms. Mejia Jackson, stay away from the Myrtle Drive address, a social worker visit, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Ms. Adams, if he does not make bond by November 7th at the SAP calendar, if his mother would like to address the court at that time, I would encourage that, or if the social worker has anything that he or she would like to report to the court. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, I think the last waiver was position 13, Kenneth Pack, who was charged with criminal trespass. Is there a history for Mr. Pack?
That defendant has 22 arrest cycles in Georgia, a 2019 felony conviction for a criminal attempt to commit a felony where they received first offender treatment. There was an arrest. The last arrest was October the 9th, 2023 out of MARTA for criminal trespass, and that case is still open. There's another open case, 23 CP 220146, and one FTA. Nothing further to report.
Your Honor, brief facts of that case is that the train operator, Kevin Burney, witnessed the defendant cross the restricted trackway from the eastbound platform to the center platform while the train was entering into the 5 Points train station. The defendant boarded said train. An NCIC and a GCIC check confirmed the defendant had a permanent ban from MARTA properties. Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is a signature bond to the pretrial services, a no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, a no contact with the named witness in this case, Kevin Burney, and a stay away from all MARTA locations. Your Honor, I believe that he's been accepted into PAD and that he's to be released to PAD at 9 a.m. on, looks like tomorrow, October 24th, and that we will do a consent bond on the matter, or consent order, I'm sorry, on the matter.
Ms. Adams?
That's also my understanding, Your Honor. In addition to, yes, that's my understanding about him being released to PAD, Judge, and also to, with regards to Mr. Pack, because he was supposed to be having that that meeting with PAD. He is residentially challenged. He has a high school diploma. He has family in Georgia. He was born and raised here, and PAD was supposed to take him tomorrow.
In Your Honor, just to clarify, Ms. Patterson is here and can speak to that. The defendant actually was accepted into PAD back on October 11th, I believe. We are just returning him to meet with PAD since he was already accepted on a previous case, and we would like him to continue working with PAD. So there was no need to revisit with him today because he's already been accepted as of about 2 weeks ago.
So as far as the bond goes, it should it state that he's being released to PAD?
Yes, Your Honor, but Mr. Howard and I, PD Howard and I found that we have a lot greater success with making sure that they are linked with PAD at 9 a.m. instead of released at 3 a.m., let's say, when we do a consent, like when we actually write that out in a formal bond order. Mr. Howard kind of developed a template that we like to use. So I would like to send that to Your Honor, CC it to Ms. Adams, so for Your Honor's signature, and that usually, because of the format, for whatever reason, tends to get the jail's attention, and they are able to release him at 9 a.m.
Okay, that's fine with me. So if you all will get that consent to Ms. Bridgewater so that she can get that to me with her orders this afternoon, I will get those signed. Is that fine with you, Ms. Bridgewater?
Yes, but for the sake of record keeping, what is that bond amount gonna be so that I can notate it now?
Okay, it will be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Mr. Burney. Stay away from MARTA, release to PAD, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Okay, good enough.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Patterson. We appreciate you being here. Okay, I believe that concludes this afternoon's calendar. Did I miss anybody?
I think that's it.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, Ms. Bridgewater.
Okay. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is November the 7th. Position number 1 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 3 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. 4 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 5 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 6 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. 7 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 9, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 10, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 11 is going to the SAP calendar with a $3,000 good bond. 12, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through the jail. 13 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. 14, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through the jail. 15 is reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 16, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 17, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 18 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. And 19 is also going to the SAP calendar with a $3,000 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise? Okay, and as soon as I receive that over, Judge, I'll send everything to you. Will that be coming from you, Ms. Falk?
It will. I'm completing that now.
Okay, great.
I actually do have a question, number 17. I got a 1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact, no driving without proper credentials. But there's also a second charge of following too closely. So
yes, which made it a total of 2,000. It was 1,000 on each charge.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Are there any others? No? Okay, well, everybody have a good one.
Take care.
Thank you.